و3 اشهر بحالنا تخلص القصه.
Good afternoon on this Monday, October 19th. I'm Yumna Nofa. You're watching the English newscast here on Future Television, and these are today's top stories. The Military Court of Cassation, as it is called, approves the release of the remaining civil society activists. Rebels battling the Syrian army and its allies south of Aleppo say they received new supplies of U.S.-made anti-tank missiles from states that oppose Assad. And German Chancellor Angela Merkel meets with Turkish leaders to promote an EU plan that would offer aid in exchange for measures to stem the mass movement of migrants. Good afternoon to our viewers. We begin today with two protesters who were arrested during the violent anti-government rally in downtown Beirut earlier this month. Well, they have just been released on bail this afternoon, according to a judicial source and another activist. Imad Bezdi, who is one of the founders of the You Sting campaign, told the Daily Star newspaper that Warif Sulaiman and Pierre Hashash will be released at 3 p.m. That was over an hour ago now. However, he did not say whether they would be released from a police station or the military tribunal. A judicial source added that they will be released after they post bail. Sulaiman and Hashash are the last of the dozens of activists to be released by authorities after civil society groups protested on a nearly daily basis outside different police stations and the military tribunal in Beirut for their freedom. Sulaiman went on hunger strike for 2 weeks in August to pressure Environment Minister Mohammed Mashnout to resign for failing to end the country's waste management crisis. An official ceremony to inaugurate the opening of a new justice palace in Tripoli, North Lebanon, took place earlier this morning. The opening of a new justice palace means that the opening of a season of justice in Tripoli. Those are the words of Justice Minister Ashraf Rifi. He said this at the ribbon-cutting ceremony. Tripoli gave a lot, but received a little, he said. His remarks were echoed by Public Works and Transportation Minister Ghazi Zaitar. This judicial edifice respects human rights, Zaitar said, and it will contribute to the development of Tripoli as well as North Lebanon. Future Movement MP Ahmed Fatfat is strongly criticizing Hezbollah leader Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah after Nasrallah said he did not care if future ministers quit the government or the national dialogue. Well, Fatfat said, quote, "I'm convinced that from the early start, Hezbollah entered the dialogue just for the sake of it," he said in remarks published by the local daily Al-Jamhuriyya, accusing Hezbollah of intentionally procrastinating during dialogue meetings held at Parliament in downtown Beirut. He said, "We have given everything for the implementation of a security plan for the Bekaa Valley, but Hezbollah has given nothing over the past year and a half." Interior Minister Nuhad Mashnout also blamed Hezbollah for the failure of the government's security plan to crack down on outlaws in northern Bekaa, where the party and the Amal movement do enjoy wide support. Nasrallah, of course, denies these allegations. Rebels battling the Syrian army and its allies south of Aleppo say they have received new supplies of U.S.-made anti-tank missiles from states that oppose President Bashar al-Assad since a major government offensive began there on Friday. Rebels from there, Free Syrian Army-affiliated groups contacted by Reuters said new supplies had arrived since the start of the attack by the army, backed by Iranian fighters and Lebanon's Hezbollah. But officials from one of the groups say that while new quantities have arrived, the supplies are not enough for the scale of the assault. They declined to be identified due to the sensitivities of the matter. A few will not do the trick, they said, to one official. A number of rebel groups vetted by states opposed to President Bashar al-Assad have been supplied with weapons via Turkey, part of a program supported by the United States, in which has in some cases included military training by the CIA. German Chancellor Angela Merkel is meeting Turkish leaders to promote an EU plan that would offer aid and concessions to Turkey in exchange for measures to stem the mass movement of migrants across Europe's borders. Merkel held talks with Turkey's Prime Minister Ahmed Davutoglu at his office in Istanbul. EU leaders at a summit in Brussels last week said they had agreed on a migration action plan with Turkey, and German Chancellor Angela Merkel said the figure of $3.4 billion had been discussed. But speaking on Turkey's FutureTV, a day after meeting Merkel in Istanbul, Davutoglu said the sum would have come from an IPA fund, money already earmarked as an EU membership candidate, and that Turkey needed additional cash. Coming up next, U.S. Vice President Joe Biden says protecting religious liberty is a moral imperative. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching the 4:20 o'clock news here on Future Television. Egyptian authorities are granting given government workers a half-day off in an attempt to bolster low turnout in the country's parliamentary election. The cabinet decree, reported in the state-owned daily Al Ahram, reflected deep concern over the turnout in the first legislative election since Egypt's last parliament was dissolved in June of 2012. This happened following a court ruling declaring its election unconstitutional. This is the second day of voting in 14 provinces, including Cairo's twin city of Giza and the Mediterranean port city of Alexandria. Voting in Egypt's other 13 provinces, including the capital Cairo, will take place next month. Final results are expected in December, and the 596-seat chamber is expected to take office later in the month. The government has not released turnout figures for voting on Sunday. Iraqi government troops backed by Shia militia fighters launched a campaign to take back full control of Beji province from the ISIS group. According to a footage found, the video released by the Al-Hashid al-Shabi purported to show Iraqi soldiers and fighters advancing on ISIS group positions. The Associated Press could not independently confirm or verify the content, date, or location of the video. Officials say in a statement that Iraqi forces and fighters have retaken the city of Beji oil refinery and the nearby Sinaya town. But they did not provide additional details on the operation at the sprawling refinery, which is Iraq's largest. The town is strategically significant as it lies on the road to ISIS group-held Mosul, Iraq's second largest city. Spain's King Felipe welcomed U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry at Madrid's Zarzuela Palace. Kerry was on a two-day official visit to Spain. Earlier this morning, he signed an agreement with Foreign Minister José Manuel García Margallo to further discuss the cleanup and removal of land contaminated with radioactivity after a mid-air collision in 1966 dumped 4 U.S. hydrogen bombs near the southern Spanish villages of Palomares.
With the passage of the TPP, it is really important for Europe now to come together around the TTIP, because this can help to elevate the rules and regulations by which we do business all across the planet. Let me emphasize, it will not reduce the standards. It does not lower standards. It won't hurt the environment or the labor standards. It raises the ability of everybody to be able to do better, but it takes away the interferences that prevent our ability to be able to grow jobs faster. The continued violence and instability actually work in favor of Daesh, not in favor of the people of Libya. So it's imperative that all of the parties approve the final political text and approve the slate of leaders for the government of national accord. A government of national accord is the best opportunity we will have to build governing capacity and begin to be able to restore Libya. The campaign against Daesh will require a multi-year commitment. But as we have learned both in my country and in Spain, defeating terrorists is not an option, it is a necessity. Securing the rights of innocent men, women, and children is not a burden, it's a duty. And that is why more than 60 nations are actively contributing to the fight against Daesh in both Iraq and in Syria.
U.S. Vice President Joe Biden says that protecting religious liberty is a moral imperative that defends society against violent extremists. Biden made the comments after receiving the Athnagar Human Rights Award bestowed by the Greek Orthodox Church at a ceremony in New York. In his acceptance speech, the vice president said extremist groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS perverted Islam to justify horrific acts.
Freedom of religion. That's something we possess simply because we exist, simply because we're children of God, period. No one has a right to confer it or take it away. I know no one ever doubts I mean what I say, but sometimes I say all that I mean. And I've said all that I mean to Mr. Erdogan and to any other leader in Turkey. But here's the deal. The protection of holy places and heritage sites in Turkey is absolutely necessary. Muslims deserve protection and respect in Greece as well. Christian minorities in the Middle East, all of whom I have met with, should not be targeted for their faith. Freedom of religion is essential and should be protected everywhere. And around the world, the regions where we see the most strife and the most conflict almost always are those that are divided along ethnic and religious lines. And where there's division, too often there is a ripe ground for extremists to sow havoc. We see the barbarous murderers like ISIL twist the peaceful teachings of the Quran to justify slavery, and if you've read recently, justify rape as a religiously justified tactic of war.
A star-studded lineup of comedians, including Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, George Lopez, Kathy Griffin, and Arsenio Hall, honored Eddie Murphy as an American icon. The Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts presented the comedian with the Mark Twain Prize, the nation's top prize for humor. During his acceptance speech, Murphy offered a reminder of his willingness to do politically incorrect humor by offering some jokes about former Mark Twain Award winner Bill Cosby, who was one of his heroes, but has been accused of various women of sexual misconduct.
And Eddie had a huge television in his basement, and it was like The Godfather. He was sitting in a big chair, and his back was to us. And he watched the sketch. I couldn't tell if he was laughing or smiling or anything because his back was to us.
Do you know who he is? And this person said, is he the guy with directions? And I said, and he said, no, this is Trevor Noah from South Africa. The guy said, I don't know him. And he walked away. And he said, they don't know who you are. They don't know who you are. And I turned to him and I said, you do realize right now you are Arsenio Hall. And I am Eddie Murphy. And the circle is complete because we have come to America.
Who else got this? Bill, oh, nope, Bill has one of these. Did y'all make Bill give his back? No, because I know there was a big outcry from people. They was trying to get Bill to give his trophies back. You know you fucked up when they want you to give your trophies back. You want to give his trophy back to him? He should do one show where he just come out and just talk crazy now. I would like to talk to some of the people who feel that I should give back my motherfucking trophies.
We apologize for those leaps. Mark Zanova Bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our headlines. The Military Court of Cassation approves the release of the remaining civil society activists. Rebels battling the Syrian army and its allies south of Aleppo say they received new supplies of U.S.-made anti-tank missiles from states that oppose Assad. And German Chancellor Angela Merkel meets with Turkish leaders to promote an EU plan that would offer aid in exchange for measures to stem the mass movement of migrants. Those are your Monday headlines live on Future Television. Catch us again tomorrow for all the latest. Have a good one.